All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Only One Truth. Only One Truth. Welcome to another episode of Only One Truth. Have a great broadcast lineup for you this evening. Got a great broadcast. See, we got somebody else coming in here. See who this is. Okay, we got a great broadcast lineup, and we're going to talk about something a little different this week. We're going to switch it up just a tad bit this week, but I'm sure that everybody that's still going to keep this thing hot and spicy. We're gonna go around. My name is Raheem Aljme, and we're gonna go around Sharon. Tell everybody who you are. Going with Sharon, co-host.
Hi, I'm Sharon Gaylord.
Okay, Pandora.
I'm Pandora Johnson out of Akron, Ohio.
Tiva.
I'm Tiva.
Okay, Tiva, your volume just went out on us. Your volume just went out on us. Wally.
No, let Tiva finish.
Tiva, you back? Okay, go ahead, sis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I said I'm Tiva Halliburton from Lancaster, California.
Good deal. Wally.
Yeah, Wally, brother Wally out of Stone Mountain, Georgia. Wally's Wisdom Podcast. Glad to be here.
Good to have you. And Rico.
Yep, this is Rico Jackson, all the way on the other side of the United States from Anniston, Alabama.
Good deal. We got a topic we're gonna talk about tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and put it across the bottom of the screen so you all can read it. And we're gonna jump into this conversation and find out what it's like. And the topic is this right here: how impactful can parents be on their children? How impactful can parents be on their children? Sharon, what do you say to that? And when I say impactful, it could be on two sides of the fence. It could be a positive impact or a negative impact. It based on who the parent is and how they're rearing. And old folks say rearing, so I'm gonna say it like old folks, how they're rearing the children. So Sharon, what do you say to that?
I think parents are very impactful on the children. Children learn from what they see. You want your kids to grow up a certain type of way, then you have to take and rear them and give them the things that they need in order to do that.
Okay. Now, okay, let me see right there. We're gonna go around and we're gonna come back because there's so many different layers that we could talk about on this. Pandora, what do you say to that? How impactful can parents be on their children?
I think I agree with Sharon. We are impactful on our children, but what I'm starting to find out is being around my grandson and my daughter. These kids nowadays, they will take whatever you're giving them, the wisdom and everything that you're trying to push down to them. They're not like we were. We follow suit, as far as how we were raised and things like that. They take it and then they still make their own decision and do whatever they want to do. I see that in my daughter. I see that in my grandson, and he's only 8. It's like no matter what we're trying to push down to him, the way we want things to go, they gonna do what they want to do. They're not like we were. We had fear of our parents and our grandparents. And the only time he has fear is when somebody about to whoop him. And the same way was with my daughter. That's the only time she had fear. We had fear that our parents was gonna find out stuff. But with these kids nowadays, this new generation, I don't know, it's different, but I still think we have an impact because now my daughter comes back and says, "Ma, I remember when you told me this." So we do have an impact on them, good and bad. And I see the good and the bad in my grandson when he goes and stays with his father, how he comes back and he's like a totally different child. And I seen it with my daughter when she went to stay with her, my in-laws for like 3 weeks. She come back, and I remember one time I had to stop on the expressway and give her a whooping just from Detroit to Akron, and that's only a 3-hour drive. So it's impactful on both ends, both sides of the story.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
Yeah, what you say? Give them some of that act right. Sometimes you got to give them that act right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tiva, what do you say to that? How impactful can parents be on the children?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to really agree with Pandora because as she was saying, we were growing up, we stayed out of grown folks' business, and butt in, when they're having conversations, we addressed adults when they came in the room. You know what I'm saying? We respected them and all of these things. But now kids today, they want to talk back to you, jump in the conversation. And, a lot of times they don't listen to you because they have their own mind or they have the peer pressure, following their friends. But one thing I always tell my sons, life is going to teach you. If you don't listen to me, life is going to teach you and it's going to show you some things. And you may not like what it's teaching you. And so now they come back, just as Pandora was saying, oh, I remember when you told me this. You remember that? Oh, my God, it was true. Oh, yeah, right. Life's going to teach you. So that's my take on it. But you can be also very positive on them by being a role model yourself. I went back to school when I was 38 years old, get my nursing degree. And, I'm saying I had to show them this is how you become somebody in life. You have to have education. You have to education in order to make it in this world today. It's no longer you surviving off of just your high school diploma like our parents did back in the day. They had great jobs just off a high school diploma, but now it takes much more than that. You need something up here so you can be able to raise a family. So yeah, we can be very impactful in those ways, just being an example before them. And I try to do that for my kids, going back and, trying to learn something. Because a lot of times they go through school as well and they pass them through. So, what I'm saying? So what you didn't get in school, try to get it now. And that's a great example that you can teach your kids. So they may have not been like A students or nothing like that, but you can always teach them to go get a trade or something like just by your own life.
Exactly. Wally, what do you say to that, man? How impactful can parents be or are parents on their children?
Well, first, I like to say make sure the TV isn't raising your child or social media. See, because of
Mhm.
the advancement of technology, a lot of people have let their children go roughshod with iPhones and tablets and all of that. So if you're doing what you're supposed to do, first, let's make sure you, parent, know what you got from your mother and father, whether it's a single parent household or two parent household. You have to look at what did you become. You have to be honest. You know how they
Mhm.
say, don't do as I do, do as I say. You can't be telling your child don't drink and you got a bottle turning it to the head. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you are doing what you're supposed to do, in most cases, not all, most, your child will follow suit and maybe generational curses can be broken. However, if you're an overly affluent family, sometimes the pressure of that child trying to live up to your standards can go in the other direction. Erin Cosby, and I know the story, she became almost like a super freak. Bill Cosby's older daughter, she was hanging out
Mhm.
with Mike Tyson, getting high and all of that. And he's very affluent and America's dad before all the accusations, of course.
Mhm.
So it's not the money, it's not the lack of money. It's really the heartbeat of the city that's in your home first. Before you send them to school, the first place they're going to get education is the home. Then they're going to see what's going on in their neighborhood. Now they can follow suit based on A, what they see mommy and daddy doing, and B, how they bring home what they saw in the streets, what they saw in the school, and what they
Mhm.
saw on TV. So we have to set a
Right.
precedence of, I'm not doing that. How did you get that? And you got to be able to talk to your children, not talk at them. Because once
Good
they
deal.
get a certain age, if you're talking at them, they can leave. Now you got a whole nother set of problems they're going to pass on to their children.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Know about that
Exactly.
too. Yeah.
Rico, what's on your heart, Rico?
I think everybody hitting it out the park. We all the parents to me have the most impact. If they don't have the most impact, they should. Because
Mhm.
first off, the mother is the first teacher, or the parents are the first teachers. They're the providers, protectors. If the child has to depend on them to survive,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? And so, at a very early age, you're going to have an impact on that child being able to have compassion for other people, how to treat other children, how to play with other children, how to share. There's just so many different ways that you're going to be able to impact and show, have an influence on what that child is going to be later on in life. Now, they will come across peer pressure. They're going to see celebrities. They're going to see people on TV. They're going to see athletes. They're going to see people that they idolize. But see, one thing that you have to do, like he mentioned Bill Cosby, but see, behind closed doors, Bill Cosby may have been a totally different person. And when your children know who you really are, then it's going to be hard for them to go along with the America's Dad that they see on TV or the one that's on
Mhm.
commercial, the one that's doing Fat Apple. You get what I'm saying? So what you
Mhm.
have number one, you have to be legitimate. You got to walk the walk. If you're gonna tell your children that they got to be doing something, I mean, like Tifa said, she went back to school. I realized the same thing. I couldn't tell my children to do something I wasn't doing, because if I'm looking at it through their eyes, they're gonna be like, "Why ain't you doing that?"
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So I gotta practice what I preach. So what you can do as they get older, to keep them from steering in other directions, maybe because they got access to stuff that you didn't allow them to have access to. Number one, you have an impact, because you can sort of determine what they're exposed to, what they have access to, if you're paying enough attention. But if they can look up to you like a hero, if they can look up to you like, man, my dad could beat Jack. Guess what? I'm following your footsteps. My dad's the strongest man in the world. My dad's the fastest man in the world. My dad's the smartest man in the world. My mom, sweetest mom in the world, the smartest and most intelligent. So they're gonna follow in those footsteps because they look up to you, and that's how much impact you can have. But also, if they value the negative, you can be the biggest dope dealer, the biggest kingpin. If you glorified and everybody else glorifies you, they might want to follow in your footsteps. That's impact.
Exactly. We got a caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? 803 area code. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Sean calling from Columbia.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Sean, we asking the question, how impactful can parents be on their children? What do you say to that?
Well, parents are the first leaders, or examples for their kids. And it can go two ways. They either lead and follow in your footsteps, or they know what not to do. So it's completely up to that parent or their parental figure to be the one to mold them in the direction that you would wish for them to go. Of course, when they grow old, they choose to, have their own routes to go. But you know that you've given them all the tools that they need to be successful. So yeah, parenting, that you are the epitome of what your child should look like. Now, again, there are outside influences, but ultimately you are the person who molds them into who they're supposed to be in society.
Okay. Now, Sharon, it's been said that, and a lot of people have said that there's outside influences. How do you, as a parent, make sure that those outside influences don't infiltrate your child's life and take them in a bad, him or her in a bad way?
And they know what you expect from number one. Number two is you have to, you tell them and you try to teach them and you train them and you lead by example so that they'll know, okay, this is what my mom expects. You can there's only but so much that you can do, in my opinion. You give them all the tools that they need in order for them to grow. Now, whether or not they take those tools when they're not around you and they use those tools, then only they know. You keep trying to just instill the best in them, try to take and guide them in the right direction so that they'll go in the right direction. But we all know that sometimes kids get around other kids and they do what the other children are doing regardless. And then hopefully, they accept those consequences, or either they don't, they hope that there are no consequences until something bad happens. So you have to keep instilling in them and keep telling them, letting them know, they're loved and that you're there for them. So, because as long as the child feels like that they're loved and somebody, they got somebody behind them, then they're going to do the best that they can. They're not going to want to let their mom and their dad down. But when they get those other forces behind them, sometimes it's hard because they don't want to, they're a bunch of punks. So either, I can't do this, I can't do that. But, they do it so that they can take and make the rest of the crowd think that, okay, I'm the same. I'm down with it.
Exactly. Now, Pandora, a lot of times kids say this, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? They do this over in Marshall's house. Marshall parents let them do this. How do you address that?
It's funny that you asked that question because I grew up with an extremely strict little itty bitty mother. Everybody was always bigger than her, but you was always scared of her. But and I used to ask those same questions. I had a curfew of midnight all throughout high school. So I used to take my mom. We went to the state championship in high school. I was captain of the cheerleading squad. When they had the parties for the regional and the districts, I took my mom with me so I could stay out till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No lie. Mama, you got to come with me. They need chaperones. I lied. Well, when she got there, she figured it out. So for me, it wasn't about when I was raising my daughter, it wasn't about me putting those type of restrictions on her. It was about us having conversations about what I did as growing up and what my mom was able to do and what I expected of her. So it was never about this is what you are going to do. This is what this is what you got to do. Now in the background, I'm not going to lie, I'm a detective. I was a detective. I was inch high private eye. I'm snooping. I'm finding out stuff, making sure she's telling me what's going on, making sure I know friends, everybody, mothers, fathers of the people. And I always, me personally, my daughter's an only child, and so am I, and so is my mom. So I always told her, I said, listen, since you're an only child, have some of your girlfriends come over and spend the night. So on the weekends, I was at home. So when her girlfriends came over, I knew everything that was going on. Oh, y'all want some of y'all little friends to come over? Okay, come on. So it wasn't about her staying out till 2, 3, 4 o'clock at night. I didn't have those issues. But I still think talking and relating as far as your experiences and what you expect from them helped me and my daughter out. It helped us out a lot because when it came time for her to go to a party, it was one of those conversations. Yes, here's the keys. Okay, you know about drinking, you know about driving. I don't expect you to come home at midnight, but you better be here in a decent hour, basically. She was always home at like 12:30 and right in my room talking about, we got to talk about what happened. So it was more, like I said, we talked. Being a single mom, being, with her, we talked constantly. We still talk all the time.
Good deal. That's good. That's good. Tiva, what do you say to that? Johnny doing it over at his house. His parent let them do this and let them do that. Why can't I do it at home? Why can't I do it here, Tiva? Hold on, I got you mute. I'm sorry. Hold on. There you go.
I said I would tell them that's their house. That's what they do in their home is what they do in their home. What we do here is what we do here, and you got to obey the rules over here. So yeah, I didn't care, what when they brought that kind of mess home to me. But mostly I tried to watch them and really not have them spend the night over other people's homes and stuff like that. I really didn't like that. Especially for my daughter who was special needs. I didn't like her being anywhere where the environment that I felt was unsafe or they wouldn't watch her or take care of her the way that I would take care of her. So, so I was kind of different in that aspect as far as, raising a daughter, you know what I'm saying? Because she has special needs. So if anybody was going to spend the night, it would be at my place where I can watch and observe and, kind of direct the situation and everything like that. So, yeah. So I don't, it's
That's
only what's
good.
going on in the house is important.
That's good. Rico, should your children fear you? Hold on, let me see. I think there you go.
To a certain extent. I mean, you don't want them to fear you because you low down and dirty. You want them to fear you because they know if they do something wrong, there's a consequence, a punishment. Not that you're gonna beat them half to death, but for the fact that number one, they don't want to disappoint you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It might hurt them to disappoint you, but at the same time, they fear the fact that you might take a privilege away. You may treat them very well. So I mean, they should fear you and they should respect you in the same aspect. Fear disrespecting you.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
But at the same time, don't worry about, they shouldn't have to worry about getting slapped upside the head. You get what I'm saying? And abused physically or nothing like that. Or mentally, because you can be mentally and emotionally abused too.
Absolutely. Sean, what do you say to that? Should your children fear you?
Absolutely. There should be some type of fear in their heart of the repercussion that will happen. if they do something that is completely out of the line. Now, I could say that they shouldn't fear you to where they can't talk to you or they can't, come to you if there's really like, a situation where they need to tell you something, but they should always have that little bit of fear that like in the back of their head, like, oh, my mom ain't about to, my mom ain't gonna let me do this, or I can't get away with this, or, to where they think twice before they do something that they know they ain't got no business doing.
That's good. That's good. Wally, I've heard it said, and I'm sure y'all have heard it said as well, that a child needs to stay in a child's place. The children these days know what that place is.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of it sounds like a cliche when you really think about a child should stay in a child's place. Now you say that, now the child's 16, 17, 18, time to be a man. Now you want them to come out of a child's place into manhood, into womanhood, grow up. So you got to be careful how you say that. Now, if we're talking children, let's make sure we define your child's 10. Let's use that age. When I was 10, 11 years old, my dad was a Mason, my stepfather. He was in the Masons. I used to see him come to the house with the fezzes on and all that. I knew to get out the living room. I didn't have to ask. That was kind of like a known thing. My children, my son's now 33, my daughter's 35. They grew up around me. I made sure I didn't put them in a position where they have to be in a child's place by doing adult things around them. Vis-a-vis, back in the early 90s when I moved here, right? I moved here in 90s, Georgia. So I had neighbors that used to smoke weed and drink beer. We used to have little block parties, and their children was around them, and they were smoking weed and drinking beer around their children. I didn't want that. So I would be like, no, don't go over there now because they got a little cookout and they getting blitzed.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to have to tell them something that they see me accustomed to being around other children, then they did it. So I think it's incumbent upon us when we're doing things adult, whatever that is, whether you're drinking beer, cursing. We got to watch our language around our children. So if you cussing and you halfway into a Tourette syndrome, now you telling the child, stay in the child's place, but you done said every word around them, arguing with your wife or your friends on the phone. Now they're in their place, but you just happen to be cursing right next door to their bedroom. Now when you hear them do it, where they get them cuss words from? You were doing it last night, and they heard every syllable.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful when we say stay in a child's place. Yes, when you're doing things that's open, and maybe you're having a conversation on the phone. And I've heard this. Maybe y'all have seen this. Everybody thinks seen this. Your child looking in your mouth when you're on the phone. It's like, get out the room.
Yeah.
I never had my daughter, my son doing that, but I've seen people let their children stay in the room and they in a private conversation. I'm like, excuse me, your child is in this room. And you having a heated conversation about something they shouldn't hear. And this they children.
Yeah.
So keeping a child in a child's place is incumbent upon you knowing that your child is a sponge. Children don't do what you say, they do what you do. You got to be careful what you do because the child's place may be the place you put them in.
Exactly. Now, Sharon, let me ask you this. We just spoke about a child standing in a child's place. Should a parent stay in a parent's place? Because there's certain things that, like he was just saying, you should not do in front of your kids. My children has never heard me curse or anything like that, and they just even to this day, and all of them are grown now. None of them can say they ever heard me use a curse word because it's just certain things, things that you lay out, and that's one of them with me. My like I said, my youngest daughter is 22, 23 years old, and she's never heard me say a cuss word. So should a parent stay in a parent's place?
I mean, you're good, Raheem. I can't say that my kids have never heard me curse. But as far as a parent's place, what do you consider to be a parent's place? I mean, me raising my kids.
You see Pandora laughing at you up there, don't you? I just want to make sure you see she's laughing at you right now. Okay. I just want to make sure you see her. She's falling out up there.
I see her there laughing because she knows she done been around me enough to know it. But sometimes those words just come out. It might be with them, or it might be with with them being around you. So a parent's place, it it determines on what you consider to be a parent's place. I think that raising my child to the best of my ability, doing what I need to do as a single parent, is what my place is. There are conversations that I can't say that my kids have not ever heard because they've been in the house with me, but I always tell them to get out of my, the old saying, get out of my mouth, get out this room. You don't have no business being in here. So you rear your kids and you do the best that you can. So there are times when they will hear those things. As far as a parent's place, I do what I need to do the best way that I know how.
Absolutely.
That's my place.
Good deal. Good deal. Sean, let me ask you this question. Do children, do they always understand or appreciate the sacrifices that parents make for them?
No, children. I mean, I think that we all could say that until we became adults and we're living the lives that our parents had lived, we didn't necessarily appreciate everything that they've done for us because we don't see it from a parent or an adult's perspective. We see it from a child's perspective. So as a child, you're seeing what is given or what is not rather. You're seeing, to me, children see from the lens of their own experiences. And half the time, if they're not getting their way, it's negative. No matter how much that might be the best thing for them, it's a negative experience until they grow up and then they realize that, oh, this is why this happened, or this is why it went this way, and I'm not always going to get my way. So I think that children will never grasp everything that a parent does for them until they are living and they are a parent themselves.
Exactly. Rico, what do you say to that, man? Do the children always appreciate the sacrifices that parents make?
I mean, obviously some do and some don't. In everyday interactions, or just viewing what's going on in society on the internet. We know some do and some don't. When they go viral, some of them, they embarrass their parents on, going live or whatever. They making memes out of them. So, it's either or. But the thing is most times, if the parents make the child earn what it is they're giving them, then they'll appreciate it more because they know the parent had to do something to earn what they have. So that's, if you really want to get down to it and want to find out how to make them, how to get them to appreciate it. I don't want to say make them appreciate it, but to get them to understand how the appreciation works. Then you have to get them a reason to earn these different things. If you just give them just because, then you have a potential to make them spoil, selfish, and that's the last thing you want to do. And then at the same time too, we can't be those parents that want to relive our childhood through them and give them all the things that we wish we would have had when we were young.
Exactly.
So a lot.
Wally, what do you say to that, man? Do children always appreciate the sacrifice? And good parents make great sacrifices for their children. Great parents make great sacrifices, but do the children always appreciate it or even acknowledge that it's happening?
Well, both my children do. My daughter now, Kiwi the Beauty, she's an entrepreneur. She sells African motivational earrings, Africa. She does a whole thing down at the Indie Mart. You met her, Raheem. You know what my daughter does. And my son's an artist, and I like what you said, Tiva. I have a special needs son too. He's mildly autistic, close to being Asperger's syndrome. So, when I hear people just like we did Badger last night with special needs, that's something to me that touches the heart. I just wanted to put that out there. So we have our own little fraternity with that. Saying that, my daughter always tells people, my dad did this. When she writes me cards and says, Dad, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known to leave Marcus or certain guys who wasn't up to standard. You see, I taught my daughter what it is to be a lady. They say, the first person your daughter dates is the dad. Of course, not incestually, but they see what it's like to be a man. So I had to show my daughter, don't accept less than this, right? And then I don't have to go knock somebody out, right? That's number one. My son, who respects me, tells me he appreciates me teaching him the martial arts, even though he doesn't practice it like I do. He learned how to fight. Now, of course, my wife, she was a little scared about how far I was going to take him because she thought he would hurt himself what I was doing. But the main key point here is they respect, and you should inspect what you expect. You expect your child to see you as somebody they could look up to, you got to make sure you're on your game. I think everybody on this panel here, based on the meetings I've had, wants to do the right thing by their adult children, especially when they was young. So now my daughter, when she gives it back to me, my son gives it back to me. Yes, I appreciate it, but they're telling it to other people. I don't have to say it. I say, ask them. Look at the fruit of my tree. You know what I'm saying? Look at what I laid out, and they're only practicing it so my grandchildren and then their children will say, "Oh, that's what they call legacy." Most definitely. So yeah, I think they appreciate it. Now, parents, those listening especially, make sure we do our job. You can't want your child to look up to you and edify you, and you slacking on your parenting. You may have two or three men in the house if you're a woman. If you're a man, you trying to mack every woman you can when your daughter's spending the weekend. What do you think she's gonna be? So
Mhm.
you got to be careful how they look up to you. Like Rico
Mhm.
said, it could be looking at the wrong thing and say, "I just want to be like my daddy." Yeah, I think they should re- respect us and look up to us, but make sure
Mhm.
they're looking up to the right thing.
Good deal. Pandora, what's on your heart right now, Pandora? What's on your heart?
Um, I've been listening to a couple things, and I apologize. I'm gonna have to get off. My grandson needs me to do some things with him. He just got home, but I agree with a couple things that were said. But the one thing that struck me, I was trying to remember what Rico said about dog it. What was it? I mean, it was about making sure that you're not spoiling the child. I mean, not making sure that they're earning what they were doing. Now, I'm the opposite of that. So there's two sides to that because I tried. I literally tried to work when I was growing up. I would make up an excuse and go and get. I got a job at Wendy's. I had my grandfather take me to Wendy's, and I told him I was just getting something to eat, and he could go, and I would catch the bus back home. He came in, seen them give me the uniform, and told them I quit. I was in
Mm.
college at Ohio University. I didn't even know the man knew where it was. He drove down there to Athens, Ohio, to the library where I was working at and told them I quit. His whole thing was he worked so I didn't have to.
Mhm.
Now, Sharon will agree with this. To say that I'm a spoiled brat is just putting it mildly. I am extra. I'm the opposite. I'm a
No.
only grandchild, only child. I'm a spoiled brat. I
Come
am.
on now. Come
I
on now.
get what I want and I want it now. That's me. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I've been on my job for 28 years, so I take care of
Yes.
me.
Come on. Come
So
on now. Mhm.
I am the opposite of you have to earn what you want. My grandmother always told me, when somebody asks you, do you want a brother or sister? Tell them no, because I can't give you $1 a day. If you had a little sister, you only get 50 cents. And that's what I would tell them. It would
Mhm.
embarrass my mother, but that's what I told them. So at the same time, I still agree with our kids follow the things that we do. I agree that being a parent, putting a parent in their place, I mean, parents staying in their own place, yes. There's certain times when I've had to tell my grandson, no, you need to go because I'm having a conversation, especially when he starts commenting on what I'm saying. Oh, no, it's time for you to hit the road, you
Mhm.
know. But there's other times that you want your kids to learn things off of you. And there's certain times when they should. I'm not saying that it's 16, 17 years old. You know, if they are going to be using alcohol, and my family does partake in alcohol. So yes, my daughter grew up around watching us drink. We didn't hide it. Well, I'm
Mhm.
from the north. We put it right there in front of her. She even had her teacher called me over to the side one day and said we was going over some things in school, what goes in the refrigerator, and she said Martell. And then she came back around and she said MGD. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And it was our church's school. But at the
Mhm.
same time, she's seen us doing that. She was little, she would put stuff in the refrigerator for us. So there is a time and place for everything, but I
Mhm.
don't believe in hiding a lot of things from your children. And especially when it comes to them, like Wally said, being an adult, what is a child's place? When they get to be, you tell them stay in your place. But when they get to be 16, 17 years old, now you're saying, Well, you should know how to do this. Well, how should they? Because you didn't hid it from them this whole time. Then when they get to be 20 and 21 and you send them away to college, they don't know nothing about drinking, alcohol, drugs, because you done hid them in the room or told them this wasn't what they were supposed to learn about. I think it all still goes back to communication. You know, I remember my mom telling me, my mom said, you know, yeah, I got pregnant with you at 18. It was a mistake. I don't ever feel like I was a mistake, but it was. So it's like, okay, well, this is what I was taught about that. Let me just be straight up blunt with you and tell you what I know about it now. And that's how we had the conversation. That's how me and my daughter had the conversation. So I don't believe there is a specific place for a child or a specific place for the parent. I think everything that goes on with that child is your place. Even, I mean, my daughter is 30 years old. She's still my place. And I tell her that all the time. You are my place. I need to know. So, I mean, that's just what I feel. But I do apologize. I got to go. My grandson had his first day at karate and he's itching to show me what he did. So I have to go be grandma, but you guys stay blessed.
See you next week.
See you next.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Tiva, what's on your heart? Unmute yourself, Tiva. Unmute yourself. Tiva, you gotta unmute.
Okay,
there you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh my God. I feel like, you know, parents should be respectful to their children as well as the children should be respectful. And what I mean by that is knowing how to speak to your child. You know, not calling them names and calling them stupid or you just like your daddy. He wasn't no good. You ain't no good. You know, we have to, you know, learn how to speak to our children and also listen to them. You know, all of my kids are grown right now, but a lot of my friends, their children love me because I listen to them. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they'll come to me quicker than they would their own parents because I listen to them. So that's the thing that I feel like most parents are missing, you know, with their children is having that respect for each other. You know what I'm saying? Not putting them down and, you know, calling them sluts and stuff like that. If they're having any issues or anything like that, then, you know, talk to them, talk them through it, ask them how they day went, you know, be, you know, communicative with them. And I think, you know, parents will have better relationships with their kids if they did that.
Good deal. Good deal. Rico, how important is it? How important is it that a parent and because we're men, I'm gonna say from the man's standpoint and the ladies, I'm asking from the ladies' standpoint, how important is it that we tell our children that we love them?
Oh, that's very important too. I mean, that's like I said, that's the whole purpose of us being intelligent beings that can speak and communicate. You know, like going back to what she was just saying a second ago, you know, was sort of bouncing off of that a little bit. You know, we have to be examples to our children as far as teaching them character. You know, teaching them how we have to teach them how to be respectful. So in that process, we have to make sure we do be respectful in front of them. You know, I think I told you about it one time before, but I'm the type of person that my sons didn't see but one woman around me. And I actually quit messing with a woman because she was cool with certain situations going on while her children were in the house, in the next room. I always took it that, you know, I always carried myself like I got to be careful because they might be listening. They might hear something. I would always be sort of self-conscious that she might be too loud. And just so happened she was. I didn't like it. And it bothered me because she told me that her son had to understand that she was grown, she paid the bills, and she had needs. And that was my last time coming over. I did not go over there again. That was my last drop. And I mean, it was simple. I didn't argue with her because I knew what her mindset was for her to say that. She felt comfortable, but she didn't understand that she had to respect them just as much as they got to respect her. She wouldn't respect, but I'm like, man, come on, you know they hear you. They getting up in the middle of the night to go to use the restroom and let you know that I'm up, mama. Yeah. They can't sleep because they know a man is over here, and I might not be the only man, which come to find out I wasn't the only man coming over there. So it's been going on 2 or 3 times a week, you know.
him.
There's a consequence behind that. Now I know this young man.
Now, Wally, you know you're not muted, brother.
Huh?
You know you're not muted. You know we can hear you, right? Okay, all right. Go on
No,
over
I
there.
said that. I know y'all heard me. I was gonna give Rico some props because I was gonna
So
say he was knocking it out the frame, but he said 2 or 3 other people, so I was like, okay, whatever.
I come to find out, I know I wasn't the only guy coming over. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that exactly what I figured was gonna happen with this young man. This is pretty much the person that he turned out to be because he lacked respect for her. He was a rebel. He started rebelling the older that he got. So, we always have to remember that we were children once before.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of being a parent comes from being a child.
Exactly.
And what we looked for, what we wanted, and what we wish we had, then we could try to provide and make do. But like I said, not to overcompensate and spoil them.
Mm-hmm.
Just that we provide for them the things that we knew that they needed.
Good deal. And I'm looking at the clock, y'all. It's 41 already. It's about time for us to get out of here, man. Man, this is the fastest hour of the week right here, brother. This is the fastest hour of the week. Sharon, what do you say to that? How important is it that we tell our children that we love them? How important is that?
I think it's very important that you tell them that you love them. I mean, I tell my boys I love them every day. When I
Mm-hmm.
talk to them before I hang that phone up, when I see them, I always give them a hug before they leave. They know that that's something they do every time before they leave me, is they give their mom a hug and, they tell me that they love them. Kids need to know that they are loved. They need to know that someone is there for them, and especially their moms and their dads. And boys, they look for that from their moms more than their dads. They know dad loves them, but they need to know for sure that mom is there too. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's very important that all children know that they're cared for. I mean, my kids used to call me the neighborhood mom. I had them white, black, Chinese. It didn't make a difference. I
Mm-hmm.
was I was Ma Dukes to the kids in the neighborhoods. They could always come to me. My nieces and nephews, when they need somebody to talk to, they came to me and talked to me. I was the cool auntie. But as
Mm-hmm.
long as they know that they have somebody there for
Mm-hmm.
them in their time of need, when no matter what the situation is, they got to know that somebody's there and they're loved by somebody. And they got to have somebody they can trust and they can go to. And I was happy that I was that person that the children felt that they can go to.
That they trust it, and that's the thing
Yeah,
that
they
they
trust
trust.
it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wally, what do you say to that, brother? How important is that them kids know that you love them, and not only know it, but you verbalize and you tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my son every night, because his room is right next to my office. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in my office either, doing my book or playing music, the bass or the keyboards. And then before I go down to the master bedroom, I say, Drell, love you, man. Because like I said, he's special need, he engulfs that. So he'll come tell Adele and I at night, love you, mom, going to bed. So he regurgitates, but it's really a feeling. He's not regurgitating. He feels that. My daughter knows it. I tell her all the time too. And they're
Mm-hmm.
grown, mind you. The child is one thing, but we've been doing it since they were young. But we also show it in expression. When I give my son the man pound and I dap him with my shoulder, my daughter, I'll hug her at night if she do something for me. She made me this. You may have saw me drinking on it. She made me my ginger shots. I say
Mm-hmm.
thanks, Kiwi, and I give her a hug. It's just no big deal, maybe to her, but to me, it means a lot. So I think men, especially, we need to verbalize the word "I love you." A lot of men
Mm-hmm.
have told even their wives, "I love you." No, you have to say it, and
Yeah.
your child should know it. You have to say it and show it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very important that you do both. I don't think nobody should say "I love you," then you slap and taste out their mouth. I mean, wait, time out now. You got to learn how to talk, show love, be firm, strict. But you can say
Yeah.
"I love you" after a strict conversation, even
Mm-hmm.
punishing your child. Now, I don't
Yeah.
do timeout. I don't know how black people get away with doing timeout. That's crazy. But we got to be able to say, hey, listen, you ain't going out this weekend. If you 12, 13, you think you grown, what they call it, little girl smelling themselves or whatever. You have to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, you're going to pull back from the little Snapchat or whatever you're doing. I'm going to take your phone. I love you now. But you can't do that no more because you're on Facebook. You're looking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But you still tell them you love them so they don't grow up to hate you for just being one way. You got to be bi-directional. I love
Mm.
you, but I can still be firm.
Exactly. Exactly. Sean, what do you say to that? Better yet, let me switch it up a little bit. Sean, let me ask you this question: how important is it at the end of the day? at the end of the day after they get home from school and you see them for the first time, that you ask them, how was your day? How was your day? And what happened today? Sean, is that important?
Yeah, that's most important
Mm-hmm.
because though you have a household that you try to keep them structured in, when they go to that schoolhouse or anywhere else without you, that's a whole different log field. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to make sure that, the things that they are experiencing outside of your households are aligning with what's inside your house. And that does come from the how was your day. They don't realize that you're just trying to, you are intentionally wanting to know how they feel and what's going on with them, but it's also information to you so that you can help guide them back to the structure that you're looking to create in them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, asking them how their day was, or even if they haven't been away from you, and just how do you feel,
Mm-hmm.
or if you know that when you're having a conversation with them and it's going left and they start getting silent, asking them how they feel, or what are you thinking, not
Mm-hmm.
just allowing them to be quiet and then ultimately it's a yes ma'am or no ma'am and they go about their business. Try to figure out what they're thinking, because those kids, I'm a firm believer that those kids who go off the deep end, or possibly commit suicide or things like that, they feel like they don't have an outlet or somebody that they can even speak to about how they actually feel. And I can just hope that I can possibly prevent that from being my child.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tiva, talk to me, sister. What's on your heart?
Just agreeing with everyone. As far as telling your children that you love them, I tell my boys, my daughter that every single day. I love you, and I give them affirmations. You're a king. You can do anything you put your mind to. I'm proud of you. I always give them that reassurance because you don't know what they're getting outside in that world. So I want to come back and reaffirm them. You are
Mm-hmm.
somebody. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job with your family, with your own children. And I love you. And I also take it a step further, to forgive me if there's anything that I've done to you or I could have done and didn't do. Forgive
Mm-hmm.
me for that. When you guys was coming up, I always ask them, was I mean, mother? That I said, no, mom, you was good. No, mom, you was a good mom. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
when you look back in retrospect, you think of the things that you could have done, while raising your kids. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing I always tell, people, adults, my friends, you can only do what you can do with the
Mm-hmm.
mindset that you're in at that moment. So you can't hold people accountable to, how they did you when you were a kid because that was their mindset. You know what I'm saying? They might have been uh, dealing with depression. They might have been dealing with, an illness or anything, So it's
Mm-hmm.
just, forgiving your kids. So I always, forgive my kids for things and I ask them to forgive me and always show that love to them because I want them to know that they're loved. And I always tell them you got to stick together. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Be a family, forgive quickly, because that's
Mm-hmm.
important to keep that family, cohesiveness together, So I always tell my kids every day, I love you because you never know, like you always say, it could very well be your last,
Absolutely.
to have that. So that's very important to me.
Sean, let me ask you this question. At what age, and everybody view this thing differently, but what age should you have the talk with your children? What age should you have the talk with them? Birds and the bees. And how this whole structure work. Sean, what's a good age?
I don't think that there is a particular age because I think that it is according to your child.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody that knows their child, they know when their child itches for something. They know when their child might be looking at something or might be exposed to something and things like that. Even if it's just a movie and they get to a scene of the movie where you want to fast forward real quick, like you can't skip over it.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes people want to skip over that part and then you find out somewhere else or when it's too late after you've had the baby, So it's like you have to gauge that with your child and what you feel is most appropriate time frame. It could be, for a child who might have gotten her menstrual cycle sooner, than another child, or a young man who's on social media posting, something that he ain't had no business in. Like, now I need to make sure that I buckle down on it. I think that you should not be afraid to have a conversation, but I think that you shouldn't sugarcoat the conversation either. Use the terms. Use what they are, use the parts that they are, because when they go out and something possibly it could be, happening to them, they not know when that, what they touching, so you have to make sure that you are straightforward and to the point of what it is so that your child knows exactly that this is right and this is wrong.
Exactly. Sharon, how do you tell them, how do you explain to them areas that they should not be touched in? How do you have that conversation with them? If somebody do this or somebody do that, how do you do that?
I mean, basically, even with my granddaughters, I've told them that if somebody's touched them in their private parts, then they need to let me know, or let their mom or their other grandmom or their dad know, because they're not supposed to be being touched in those areas. So the most important thing is, like Sean said, be direct. Let them know exactly where you're coming from, so they'll know. Okay, this is wrong. This shouldn't be happening to me. He shouldn't do this to me, or she shouldn't be doing this to me, because there are a lot of pedophiles out there that will, and that's why they shouldn't be going in places without you knowing where they're going.
That's good. That's good. Rico, explain to me, man. How do you have that talk?
Well, first off, you got to determine if they're mature enough to have that talk. Like I think somebody was saying a second ago. When you spend enough quality time and build a certain bond, or you're attentive enough to your child, you'll notice certain movements, certain things that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Even at a very young age, you might notice at 4 or 5 that they touching in a certain area a little too much, and for some reason, okay, they might be getting a sensation. So you're gonna have to try to keep them from messing around in that area too much. So if you're already familiar with it, then you might be able to tell them at an earlier age, look, stop doing that and don't let nobody touch you there. Especially if they are doing it with intention. You get what I'm saying? When they know that's what they're doing it purposely, oh man, you definitely got to have that talk. Then so it's all about being attentive and being observant. One of those parents is just living your best life and you don't know what's going on with them, or you just think, oh, that's what children do. They don't know no better because you don't feel like addressing that issue. Then you might be a parent hit 28.
Yeah, exactly. Pandora, what do you say to that? That talk, have that conversation. How do you do that?
I think I agree with everybody else. It depends on the child and their maturity level. I know. I think my daughter was like 8 or 9, and I was driving her to school, and Bill DeVoe had a song on that said, "I got to put my Jimmy hat on," and so I was like, it was the Poison song, or something like that, and it was just something, and who knew she was actually listening to the words that close, and she was like, "Mom, what kind of hat is that?" And at that point, my answer was, "We'll talk about that hat when you get off from school." So thinking it would let it go. But no, Jasmine, when she got out of school, when I picked her up, she was like, "Mom, about that hat." I was like, "What? What
Bought it
hat?"
right back to you. Bought it right back to you. Yeah.
So I think it all depends on their curiosity, their level of understanding. And of course, at 9, I just gave a basic general, answer to her about what it was. And she will question everything. So Sharon knows. So she will question everything. So with her questions, I just kept giving answers. I mean, it's just the maturity level of your child. And I agree with Sean that you got to make sure when they are older and you are having that discussion, you want to tell them the real thing. You want to tell them, the correct names. You're going to hear this when you're talking to your friends, but this is really what's going on. What it's called. This is what happens. And like Sharon said, you got to let them know. When somebody is trying to put you in a position and you don't feel comfortable, you will know that it's not right. You need to let me know. You need to let somebody know, an adult that you trust, as soon as possible. You got to let them know. And especially when you feel that it's not right, your comfort level. So I mean, and that's just how we went for it. I mean, now with this one, that my grandson, he's a whole different animal. I'm finding out, we all women, so we don't know.
Yeah.
So we're like I said, we're going along with his maturity level.
Exactly.
He's asking questions and we try to give answers best we can.
Pandora, let me do this. I want. We got 5 more minutes. I want to touch everybody with this particular question right here. So let me go. Everybody, give me your quick answer. Wally, talk to me, brother. How did that talk?
The talk.
Yes.
Well, fortunately, my daughter kind of let me have to have the talk with her. She was 12. She was writing letters in the class to some girl about, it was a fantasy story she made up because my wife and I confronted her about it. She went, "You reading my letters?" I'm like, you left it on the floor. It was near the bathroom. So I questioned her about this letter, and she was very almost like Zane type of. I'm like, "What in the hell?" So she said, "No, no, no." I'm like, she's creative. So I said, "Well, let me explain something to you. Even if you're creative, you learned this from somewhere. Let me explain something to you what you don't know." So I did the father-daughter thing, and Adele was like, "Yeah, okay, Wallace." And she goes, "What age were you?" And I said, "Well, to be honest, and it's in my book, and I'm not lying. At 12 is when I knew about sex. There's the girl in the neighborhood. She was down with the program because she was a little what they call fast. So she was a tomboy. We saw her in a dress, and guess what? That talk didn't happen to me. The experience happened to me with another 12-year-old. So I had to explain to my daughter, you're at this prepubescent age where things are going to come about. And I'm saying if you're not prepared, you're going to be scorned by men, and you may grow up to hate them. So I had it with her at 12.
Good deal. Tiva, the talk.
You know what? I gotta be totally honest with you guys. I really didn't have a sit down talk, about the birds and the bees with my boys. But I did tell them, don't be bringing no babies home. Don't be, that's as far as I went with them because, once again, it was uncomfortable for me to talk to them about it. So at that time, when my husband was alive, he would talk to them about, the birds and the bees. So I left that to him. But with my daughter, I just, told her, don't let anybody touch your cookie. Don't anybody touch your breast. If anybody's touching you inappropriately, let me know. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your brother, your cousin, next door neighbor, the pastor. Let me know because I'm going to deal with it accordingly. And so I always ask her that whenever she comes home, anybody touch you? You good? How you feeling? Because I want her to be aware it's okay for you to let me know if somebody is touching you and what those, your private parts are, So I did talk to my daughter, but I left to talk to my husband for the boys.
Okay. And Sharon, and everybody does it differently. Everybody have their own way about going about it and how they want to handle that situation. But is that the appropriate way to let the father talk to the sons and the mother talk to the daughter? Or should they sit down both together and have the talk?
I mean, I talk to my boys. So their dad later in life, maybe he did. I'm not exactly sure because I divorced them when they were 6 weeks. But as far as the boys, I talked to the boys and I had my father to talk to them because I knew that there were things that I couldn't cover that only a male could. So my dad was always the man that my go-to. My brothers were my go-to for them, but mainly my boys got it from my dad.
That's good. I'm looking at the clock, y'all. It is now 6:59. Time for us to get out of here for the evening, man. This has been a good conversation, and I'm sure that a lot of people that was listening actually gathered something from this conversation, and that is my prayer that they did gather something up. Let me go to Pandora. Pandora,
Yes.
come on, pray us out, sister. Pray us out.
I pray this in, I'm going to pray us out. Dear Heavenly Father, again, thank you for allowing us to come and rejoice in your words. Thank you for giving us the words to have these podcasts, especially this one. I think this one was really important. And I hope a lot of people were able to take away some things, those single moms, those single dads that's raising these kids out there. Some of the things that we've said, because our kids are grown and we've learned and we've made mistakes. Please, please help us to have helped them with this particular podcast. Please let everyone Have a blessed day. Have a blessed evening. Please, Lord, see fit to bring us all back together next Wednesday. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Anybody got anything before we get out of here? Everybody's good?
Yeah, I'm going to get a
Good.
pizza.
Look, you got to get pizza for everybody. You can't buy pizza just for you. You got to get pizza for everybody. You know,
Hey, I work for FedEx. I can FedEx y'all some.
there you go. There you go. But listen, it is now 7:01. It's been a great broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank everybody for allowing DK Media Group and Associates and Only One Truth to be a part of your evening. Make sure you come back and join us every Wednesday from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time right here on DK Media Group and Associates. It is now 7:01. You're about to exit Only One Truth. But before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. We shine some of this light on you from Only One Truth. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. You all have a great day. I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great evening.